Yes, and I know Polito will throw the lob. Like,
Oh yes.
we used to discuss that in practice. Like, yeah, throw the lob.
It was a good chemistry. You know, I was thinking
Yeah.
yesterday too. It was me, Ernie, and Bo Heinley. I never realized we were all lefties on one team.
Yeah, that's right.
Can
Yeah,
you imagine that?
yeah.
So sometimes when they
Hey,
play the
guys.
small, there we
Wait,
go.
we are live on Facebook, and Bo Heinley is just joining the meeting. So you guys keep the conversation going while I get Bo in here in the meeting. Welcome everyone to our show, and we'll be getting started in just a second. It's been pretty enjoyable already, so just keep it going, guys, for a few more minutes.
So, hey, Tree, man, did you have problems because we were lefties like me, Bo, and Andrew, or what?
What kind of problems would I have?
But from righties to lefties.
Throw the ball within 3 feet of the hoop, and it was a done deal.
You know, I was living above the rim. Come on, man, just throw it up.
I would have thought we would have problems, 3 lefties. I like to play the right side of the court, and Bo played a lot on the left side. So,
but remember, Valdes put me on the right. Valdes put me at 2, and then right. Jonathan will go to the left.
Gentlemen, let's get rolling.
We also had Roderick.
Yeah, Rod was point guard.
Roderick Lewis. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. We are now live on Facebook. We've got Bo Heinley back with us for this week, and he just joined the meeting. It doesn't get any better than this. We have got Andrew Polito, Tree White, Ernie Matos, and Bo Heinley talking to us about the last days of Empire, the final Valdes team, the 1994 state Final Four trip. Want to give our quick disclaimer, you know, whatever we're saying has nothing to do with the school. Please don't hold it against the school. This is just us telling memories from the good old days. I don't say the disclaimer as good as Chris Pate does. Chris Pate will probably be back towards the end of the spring. He's traveling, as we've said many times. We are very fortunate to have these guys here because these are Valdes Mafia players right here. Going to ask everybody to go around the room. We'll start with the upperclassmen, and Tree, why don't you introduce yourself and wave to the fans and the alumni out there?
What's going on? Tree White. You already know.
You survived the Buccaneer event today.
Man, tell me about it. I survived the watching of the game and the celebration. The celebration was less crazy than watching the game because I chose to watch the game on Soho.
Gotcha.
Oh man,
that's crazy.
You know, man, I left at halftime. Went home. Yes.
It's probably the safest move.
Oh yeah, it was. It was great. It was good for the city of Tampa.
Yeah, absolutely. Ernie, introduce yourself. Ernie Matos. It doesn't get any better.
Man, Ernie Matos, 1994, still in Tampa, Florida. And hello to everyone, old timers and the new Bayshore boys and everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they got their first district game tonight, so we're hoping to get a report on whether or not they're able to win. Bo, introduce yourself again. We remember you from last week, of course, with the miracle at Ramey.
What's up, guys?
What's going on, Bo?
How y'all doing, man?
Look at Bo with a beard. I know.
I think it's been like 20, 25 years since I've seen most of you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's good to see everybody. Class of 95. I live in Birmingham, Alabama now. So getting old and fat and like to relive the glory days here, man. It's good to see y'all.
Absolutely. You all look great. Just like when we had Sam on, he looked 25 years old. And now we go to the man, Andrew Mafia Valdes Polito. Drew Polito was a freshman on this team. He got pulled up by Coach Valdes, who is his uncle, and we're going to love to hear some stories there. Andrew, of course, had a great career, played on those great 96 and 97 teams, perhaps one of the greatest Bayshore teams in 97 team. We got him here tonight because when does a freshman get pulled up for a Final Four game? That shows you how good he was. Andrew, say hello.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Long time no see. I don't have social media, so I kind of keep it quiet over here. I'm in Clearwater, but it's Good to see everybody. It looks like Bo Heinley's the greatest looking guy after all. Looking sharp, dudes. Looking sharp.
Andrew, what happened to your hair, buddy?
Everybody's.
The hairline started to recede, and I just went with it.
That's right. Looks good.
Meanwhile,
Everybody looks good.
But
We're gonna-
real quick, I am not the man. I am Valdez's nephew. There was a couple people that were actually going to be called up to be on varsity. I think Blocker said he declined. I think even JJ Morales declined. So I ended up playing the season with this group. So like I was saying earlier, 3 lefties. I never realized it was me, Bo, and Ernie Matos.
Well,
Crazy.
Drew, is well deserved because you were great. Don't understate it because I'll overstate. You were the best, and so we're so thankful you're here tonight. And I loved being around you and getting to know you all those years ago. I'm going to start in the back corner with Ernie, the back corner of my screen. I don't know what it looks like on Facebook. Ernie, what I remember from this team is 32-6. You beat 2A Bishop Verot by like 20. You blew out Dunellen, which was another 2A school, public school. You beat Fort Meade at home in a huge comeback. They were up big. Then we went up Jacksonville Episcopal, a 3A superpower. What are your memories of that season? 32-6. We're going to get to the Final Four. Tell us about your memories of school, the season. What are your best memories?
Well, school was great, man. School was a blast. I had my ups and downs, but it was fun, man. It was really, really fun. But man, the 94 season was crazy because we just had a lot of starters. I mean, I didn't start in the beginning. I was not a starter at the beginning of the season. Actually, I quit my senior year, if people didn't remember that.
Wow. Yeah.
Me and Justin Wynett we're gonna quit. And we said, I said something. I told the teachers, and I don't know, it was like the 3rd practice. I think we quit. Man, Valdes got on the telephone and called my mom and my pops, man.
I bet.
So, and I didn't tell them nothing. So listen, I didn't tell them nothing. So so it's time for dinner. Well, we sat at the table to eat, and my parents go, we talked to Coach Valdes. I said, yeah, I want to go to Jefferson. I want to quit. I'm not going to start, yada, yada, yada. And my dad looks at me. He goes, you're not going anywhere. You're going to finish what you started. And that's what happened, man. Coach Valdes called my parents twice in my 4 years at Bayshore. And those 2 times, the man is golden, man. He has a golden heart, and I think that's what makes us men in life. Just following him. He's just probably one of the greatest mentors I've ever had.
Yeah.
And that's a great way. That's a great way to put it, because we all have our ups and downs through our lives. But you can always look back to his mentorship and the values he stood for that helps you get back on the right path. We're going to go next to Tree. Tree, I'm going to hold up 2 hats for you.
No Gators. Come on. Oh, okay.
Yeah, where's the Gators at?
Going with the orange hat. That's an original hat. Look, I mean, there's no Velcro back here. These are clips.
It's flimsy and everything. Yeah.
So you had a good time today, but Tree, I mean, your addition to this team was crucial. 2 people are not here tonight. Jonathan Fielder, who deserves to be here, and Jonathan Johnson. Both had work commitments. They have evening work commitments. We're probably going to get Jonathan Johnson in a couple of weeks. Certainly going to try to get Fielder before all of this is over with. So they both deserve to be here. You were a critical addition to this team. The Tampa Tribune wrote about it. Tell us your memories of school and of that season. And of course, as the show goes on, we'll get to the Final Four, but school that season, what are your thoughts as you arrive at Bayshore?
Listen, first of all, I have to thank Bo and Mr. Heinley, because if it wasn't for them discovering me at a summer league game, I would have never had the opportunity to be a part of the Bayshore Christian family. And I owe it all to them, because I was I was at East Bay, maybe getting ready to go to King, and I was just playing for Winston Davis. So, and I was
An
living
old
in
school name.
Brandon High School District at the time. So I was really supposed to be going to Brandon, but somehow I ended up at East Bay following my friends and, but anyway, so yeah. So I met Mr. Heinley and Bo at a summer league game. And
Where were those games being played? Were they at
Hillsborough
Brandon?
High School. It was at Hillsborough High School.
Okay.
And I want to say Bo was playing with Florida College's summer team with Greg Summers and them boys. And I think I was playing for Hillsborough High School Summer League because I was living in Palm River at the time, and that was my district. So everybody on that team, Jerron Bolden, Thomas Miller, I played on that Summer League team. So yeah, I ended up meeting them after the game, Mr. Heinley, and he was, they were asking me would I like to go play for a good basketball team. I'm like, yeah, who? Bayshore Christian. And it dinged in my head, Andrew Frazier. And me and Andrew lived right across the street from each other. We grew up together. His dad, we used to play ball. We grew up playing ball against his dad. And you know how good his dad was. His dad was the park director for Hillsborough County at one of the parks, Winston Park. So I was like, yeah, boom, they went home. I think they met my dad and, they talked about it and boom, next thing I know, I'm leaving one school going to Bayshore Christian. I think school has started. It was like 2 weeks into the school year. And I remember putting on my uniform and I'm thinking, I'm not going to like this. I'm not going to like this. I'm going from a public school to a private school. So it was a big change. I remember walking past Mr. Piazza's class. And it had the big windows.
Yeah.
And all the kids stood up. And John was in that class. And all the kids stood up and they were looking, they were like, hey, you gonna play basketball? I'm like, yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'll like this. And the first day of practice was different. Compared to what I was used to. It was more structured and it was more. It was like putting high octane gas in your car and you've been using regular for a long time. And I liked the whole overall experience because I could tell Coach Valdes cared about his players. And it was more than just basketball. It was always something to learn besides basketball when Coach Valdes was involved. And man, it was amazing. It was amazing. And then I remember the first game was the alumni game. We've never had in public school, we've never had that kind of thing go on. And
I think I played in that alumni game.
You did. You did.
Steve could play.
I want to say
a long time ago.
Lewis was there.
Steve used to play in his glasses, man.
Dude, we played Charlie Bradley.
Yeah. Lewis Shepard, Charlie Bradley.
Yeah, all of them were there. And I was like, man, I was just excited. And we went to pregame. We went to Coyotes on Gandy. And somebody talked me into getting some fried mushrooms. Oh, they got the best fried mushrooms, blah, 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 blah. Man, my nerves were so bad when I started playing in that alumni game. my guts were bubbling. It was just, but the whole experience was amazing. That first night, and it was packed. So I'm like, if this is just an alumni game, I can imagine how the games are. And
you hit it right on the head right there with it being packed. Back then, the crowds were unlike anything you could imagine. So you're exactly right. I didn't mean to interrupt. I wanted to get to Bo. So real quick, wrap up there, finish up your thought there about that first arrival at Bayshore.
But yeah, it was great. I mean, I knew after the first 2 weeks that I was there, I knew I was a part of something special. I knew it was going to be fun. There was a lot of things that I had to overcome, but yeah, it was great. It was amazing. I mean, landing at Bayshore Christian was unbelievable.
That's so awesome to hear. I got a couple of Facebook comments from an original gangster. OG John Harville says that's old school Tampa for sure. Under what you and Ernie were talking about, and then Harville says, if I told my dad I was going to quit, I would get my you know what kicked. So he knows what's happening. Going to turn now to Bo Heinley. Bo, you were instrumental last week in sharing with us that Miracle at Ramey story. This is a year before. This is the last days of the Valdes era. I don't really know. Does anybody even know that was about to happen? I hope to hear your stories on that. Tell us about that season, Bo, for you. I know I watched a game where y'all played, I think, Chiefland and lost by 1. They were a 2 or 3A public school. And then the next day in a Christmas tournament, lost to Highland Christian, which is very important because you would get even. They were a really good basketball team. Tell us a little bit about that season for you, and then we'll go to Polito.
Yeah, Tree was talking about how my dad recruited Tree. He actually recruited me to go to Bayshore. My brother was going to Bayshore at the time, and he came at the end of that 92, 93 season. I was a sophomore at Temple Heights, and he was like, Bo, he's like, they got a coach over Bayshore. He's taking his teams to the Final Four, man. He's like, you can go to the Pinnacle. And that was a big thing. And then seeing them play at Temple Heights, man, you talking about an aura. Watching Andrick Frazier and John. I told you about that earlier. That was such a big thing for me. Trey nailed it right on the spot, man. The biggest thing that stands out to me with Valdes was the culture he developed in practice. So much different than anything else that I had experienced. You had to bust your tail. We just want to kind of go through the motions in practice, man. He wouldn't let you. And I remember this phrase. He goes, if I'm going to be out here giving 100%, I want you guys out here giving 100%. And that kind of hit me between the eyes. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to quit faking this and, give everything I got to it. Did we talk about the starting lineup that we had that year? So Tree 6'9".
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Tree 6'9". John was 6'6", 6'7". Tobias was 6'6". Jimmy Schramm was 6'4". And then we had the short guys, Ernie, rounding up here. That was nobody. I'd never seen a lineup like that, especially in 1A. That was one of the biggest things. It felt like just on a height advantage, we could beat people. Yeah, that Chiefland tournament, that was a Christmas tournament. I remember playing Dunellen. And I think that the Highlands Christian tournament was that at the Masters?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, those are 2 huge tournaments for us. Yeah, and one thing that stuck out with Ernie too. I don't know. Do you remember playing Wymore Tech, Ernie? Lights out that game.
Why more Tech and then Highlands? Highlands, I got to tell the story about Highlands whenever you guys are ready.
Yeah,
that's the one where Coach Valdes blew up on me.
Oh, so, please. We're going to come back around.
The night out there, didn't we stay a few nights out there? Was it in a way?
We had. I don't remember nothing after losing. I literally lost the Chiefland game. The Highlands game. I lost it for us. That's the one game.
Well, go ahead and tell the story. Then we'll come back to Drew. How did you lose the game? We lost by 7. I mean, tell us this story. It's very interesting.
We were tied. And there's about 30 seconds left. And Coach Valdes tells me, Ernie, you know what to do. Go down right at the baseline and call timeout.
Call timeout, yeah.
So I'm dribbling. I get the ball. I'm dribbling left. Then out of the blue, I saw one of our jerseys wide open. So instead of calling timeout, I threw a bounce pass. And Highlands just nipped the ball.
Ernie.
Nipped the ball. Then what do? I try to grab it and try to pass it in again, and I step out.
Ernie.
That was the worst timeout ever in my whole entire life.
How are you even here today alive?
So everyone's walking back to the huddle. I'm still over there where I stepped the line.
Yeah.
So I walk back to the huddle, and Coach Valdes is just looking at me. I mean, like, the veins
The
pop
vein,
out,
the vein.
the spit's coming out, and he grabs my jersey and he goes, "What did you do?" And the only thing I could tell him was, "I don't know."
He's always honest.
He hated turnovers, man. Hated them.
Oh, let me tell you something. I was so devastated because we were tied at that point. Then we turn around, we ended up fouling them. I think I ended up fouling out like me and someone else. Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was bad. It was bad.
It was a tough loss because I think that you guys, as you proved in the Final Four, were the better team. And if you ever played a clean game against them, I think you win by 10 or 15. So that's a really great story because it goes right to the heart of Coach Valdes.
You got to get him to tell the story about Wymore Tech too, Ernie. You got to tell about that story.
Yeah, I'll tell that. I'll let somebody else.
Second.
Yes.
I want to get to Drew Polito. Drew Polito is Bayshore incarnate. And I almost think, Drew, you would have been better off playing in me and Harville's and Edwards era because it was more of a let's punch them. If we're gonna go out, we're gonna go out fighting. And that's just that tough, hard-nosed nature. Tell us what you thought about playing with all these upperclassmen and your experience that year.
Well, you made me that guy by the time I graduated, by the way. You took me under your wing and you showed me the ropes. And I mean, we've been competitors pretty much all our lives. But playing with these guys, in 8th grade, I was practicing, just hanging around with my uncle. My mom and dad worked real late. So I'm sitting there doing suicides as an 8th grader saying, oh, I'm only 7 or 8 steps off of Derek and Andrick, yada, yada, yada. And then as the time went on and it was my turn to come play with these guys, they kind of took me in. We played a lot of basketball, man. We played a lot of open gym. People got to realize I got to Bayshore at 4th grade. There was a 4th and 5th grade basketball team when I showed up there for the first time ever. And then there was a 6th and 7th, and then a JV and a JJV. So, I mean, a lot of guys came up through almost the elementary school, So we were ready. Right. I was ready. Ernie played a lot of ball. I didn't know Bo Heinley. Maybe that's why we didn't see eye to eye much. He was a Temple Heights guy coming in or something. I'm not sure.
Temple Heights takes a lot of abuse in this show.
So, yeah, I mean, they accepted me. I grew up real quick. We played everywhere. I mean, even after school or after practices, we go to all the county parks and go play. That's what we did. We didn't screw around. We didn't have social media. We didn't have none of that, Play basketball.
Didn't you have a famous Valdes story about your headphones?
Yeah, we were traveling somewhere, and again, I'm coming out of 8th grade. I'm in 9th grade. We got Jimmy Schramm. We got Toby trying to be Americanized, and we got Tree, and we got Fielder, and I'm sitting there trying to be cool. I got my headphones on, and we got, I think Bo's dad helped us get some nice jump outfits or whatever the case was. And Uncle Herman looks at me and he grabs my headphones, puts them on his ear, and it's Snoop Dogg Machiavelli. Yeah. And he looked at me, he shook his head, and he goes, if I hear that again, I'm going to break you and those headphones. And I said, yes, sir. And that was the end of that. So,
that is great.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
We've already got some high-level Coach Valdes stories already, and we're only like 15 minutes in.
I mean, he headbutted. I'm sure he headbutted everybody on the team. He's famous for his headbutts.
Not me.
No.
He couldn't reach. That's right. He couldn't reach. Let's go back to Ernie, and then we'll go to Tree. Ernie, we want to hear the Wymore Tech story. And as we go around in this circle of stories, make sure to share with us. Let's start moving towards the end of the year. I don't have who y'all beat in the district title game. Are there memories with that? So share Wymore Tech. Tell us your thoughts as we're approaching the end of the season. Just go from there. Start with that Wymore Tech story.
The Wymore Tech game was the game that was my coming out party. So Coach Valdes was still pissed off at me for quitting. So I was way at the end of the bench. Even Polito was on the other side. So Coach Valdes, I mean, it's like, I think it was like the third quarter, the beginning of the third quarter. And Coach Valdes tells me, goes, look, all I want you to do is pass the ball, play defense, and don't let nobody go baseline. So Coach Valdes always had me on the 1-3-1 on the bottom, which I never understood that. I'm the smallest guy playing on the 1-3-1 in the bottom. So these guys at Walmart Tech were huge, man. Yeah. So we go and the game's real close. All of a sudden they start collapsing because of Tree, Fielder. We're a big team. So all of a sudden I'm like, damn, man, you know what? I'm going to go all the way to the corner over here. I'm going to wait till they start, so they dish it out. And that's what happened. Every single time they kicked it out to me, I would just shoot it. But when I would shoot it, but listen, man, every single time I would shoot it, it wasn't a swish. It was one of those like in the movies. You guys remember that? It was like, it would bounce, bounce, and then it went in. So the game, like it's like the fourth quarter, right? And these are some big cats, man. These dudes were huge. So they stole the ball. It was a 3-on-1. I'll never forget this as long as I live. So I'm looking at these three cats coming down. I'm like, all right, if he passes it to the right or the left, I'm just gonna hack him like Bill Laimbeer did, like the Detroit Pistons. So the guy keeps it. He's coming right at me. I said, you know what? Screw it. I stood up. I just stood still, and I swear to you guys, that was the hardest charge I've ever taken in my whole entire life. I mean, that thing hurt the next day, but it felt so good that I took that charge because I saw Coach Valdez's hands go up like this. Oh, yeah. He made a fist.
That is awesome.
That Wymore Tech game, and I'm going to finish with the Wymore Tech game. We stole that game so bad, we had to run out of there because the parents were yelling at us. The players were freaking out, and all the students were like, "We're coming after you! We're coming after you, dude!" We hightailed it. I mean, we left water bottles, the clipboards, we left everything.
Did you escape in the Valdes mobile, or were you on a bus?
Yeah. We went everywhere. Everyone went everywhere. The only thing was, Coach Volpe was making sure that everybody got out of there. That was it.
I think we tried to leave out of the back door of the locker room. I think we were trying to get out like the back door. We didn't even want to go through the front. He was scared for our safety.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I remember running in between Tree and Toby.
Yeah.
That's good, Drew. That's good. Let's go to Tree and Tree. So Ernie's got that great Wymore story, and for people who are watching, Wymore Tech for a series of about 6 to 8 years was a 1A and 2A power. They had football, like you said. They had some huge guys, and they were an alternative school, so they got a lot of high level athletes that just couldn't make it where they were at. So that was a great win for our team that season. Again, a 32-6 year in the last days of the Valdes era. Tree, what are your thoughts? I mean, so we've come around, we've got a general statement from you guys, but let's talk about the season. What do you remember as it's wrapping up? Do you expect to win district? Yes. Do you expect to go to the Final Four? Yes. What were those end of season moments like?
Man, at that point, towards the end of the season, it was surreal to me because I've never been in this position. Like, we always had the schools I played at, we had teams that could reach that pinnacle, but they weren't on that level. So coming into districts, I mean, we were on fire. Like, nobody could stop us. I mean, our schedule wasn't that hard. Like, I wish we could have had some of the schedules that 95 and all these new school kids have, because man, we were big. We were big. We were Jacksonville Reebok big. Like, we were big boys, and they knew when we walked into the gym what time it was. I mean, we had a little sense that we were arrogant to a certain extent because we knew nobody could beat us. I mean,
Yeah, it's Bayshore, yeah.
down low, it was like I was like Mutombo, I'm blocking shots. But yeah, coming into districts, I think we played districts at Jefferson. Wait, no. Where did we play districts?
No, we played
districts
districts in our house. Yeah.
Yeah, we played regional. Yeah, we played that last game at Jefferson, right?
No, it would have
No?
been at Bayshore for district. I think it was at
Really?
Bayshore.
I could have swore we were somewhere else because anyways, yeah, I guess so. I guess it was.
Dude,
And who were we playing?
Tree districts is where I threw the alley-oop to you.
Yeah.
Who was
I
that
remember.
against? Who was that against?
I'm trying to.
Tampa Baptist?
remember.
Was it not Lakeland Christian? We either played Lakeland Christian in the
Yeah, it was Lakeland
final
Christian.
district.
It was Lakeland Christian because we had to play. We played them twice, and that was the second time we had played them, right?
I thought,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe it was Lakeland Christian. But
That's a really great memory.
Man, speaking of alley-oops, we got to talk about this alley-oop. We were talking about it before we went on. Canterbury, we were at their house, and somehow the ball was falling out of bounds, and Andrew Polito grabbed the ball and flicked it back. And I was coming down the middle. That was the nastiest alley-oop I have ever caught. And I wish we had YouTube back then.
Oh, right.
So that highlight would have lived forever.
Well, wait, Bo, you've got more video. Do you have that game video, Bo?
Which game? Lakeland Christian?
It's Canterbury in
Canterbury.
in Fort Myers.
Yes, I do have that game.
Then we're going to be able to find that
man,
dunk.
I gotta see that.
I got it. I'll
Listen.
send it to Steve.
That'd be
Listen.
great. Yeah, we can get that dunk going viral. That'll be great.
Yeah, that thing was so serious, man. Me and Polito were hyped. We were hyped. I remember that all the time. I remember that. I caught some lobs from a couple teammates, but that one was like, yeah, it was unbelievable.
That's really great. I'm going to go to Polito, then back to Bo, because I want to ask Drew, how many alley-oops did you throw in high school? And do you think that was the best alley-oop in Bayshore history?
Honestly, all the alley-oops I threw was probably
Yeah, he threw
this
this
1914 here. I left my sophomore year. I mean, I didn't leave. I was asked to leave my sophomore year, so I went to Jefferson High School. So I had a couple alley-oops over there with those big boys, but no one really rose above the rim. You know, everyone was pretty much bangers when I was my junior, senior year. You know, Fielder played at the rim. I only got to play with him 1 year. Todd, like I said, Todd got nasty down low and played at the rim, but nothing really fancy. Nothing really fancy after that. Not too much.
Well, we can't wait till Bo gets that video so we can get Andrew Polito throwing that alley-oop to Tree all over the internet.
I'll tell you this. I was thinking, I said, you know, I got one more story about Valdes, but between Tree, Toby, and all the big guys, I think me, Bo, and what was his name? Roderick?
Roderick.
Yeah, Roderick.
And Ernie, but by feeding the balls into these guys and just throwing the ball to Jonathan Johnson, shooting the three, I mean, we were averaging 8-9 assists a game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, I remember the game that it was a terrible team, but Jonathan Johnson broke the 3-point record. And I remember going down the court and it was open game. So I go down, boom, hit a three, come back up the court, hit a three. Herman calls timeout, grabs my jersey, says, if you shoot one more three, you better give the ball to Jonathan Johnson. I think he had like 10, and he goes, I will put you on the bench for the rest of the game. I'm like, yes, sir.
Well, at least he said the rest of the game, because sometimes he would tell us for the rest of our careers. So that's pretty good. He got softer.
Jonathan was hot. Jonathan was hot.
Yeah.
He was on fire. So
Hey, can I say something real quick about that?
Yeah, then we'll go to Bo. Go ahead, Trey.
That game was Roosevelt.
we won by 100.
We had so many dunks. Coach Valdes pulled
Oh yeah, he said no more.
No more. He said, no, yes. If another person dunks, you will be running in practice. So man, the layups were like high-rise layups. You just like put your hand in the rim and just like lay the ball in.
Right. So that's such good stories. And I got another John Harville post on Facebook. OG Harville says Kenny Cox got headbutted at half court against Plant City High School at half court. So Coach Valdes met him on the court to get the headbutt. And we're going to switch now to Bo. And Bo, these are such great stories. I mean, we've gotten some Valdes golden nuggets here in the early going. Tell us about where we're at this point. We win districts. I'm going to want everybody to say, what was your favorite memory, favorite teacher? Before we leave tonight, we'll do all of that. We're now through the season with huge victories, Bishop Verot, Episcopal, Dunellen. We're district champions. Got that upset loss to Highlands Christian. Tell us about the post-district experience. What was practice like? I mean, I can remember in the postseason when I was in school, it was like we started over with running, 10 singles, 5 doubles, and 10 wind sprints. We just kept running. Did practice change? Did it adjust to where you were at on the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was more focused on, getting sharper with our offensive plays. And then that's how I actually got, a little bit more playing time towards the end of the year, because I was one of the few that would just go set a pick for Jonathan Johnson when he got hot. So he's like, well, this guy's going to set picks for him, so I'll just let him play a little bit more. But that was part of it. And, one thing that stuck out to me, especially in the postseason, was, and I guess this is a hallmark for Valdes, but just his willingness to be flexible and do some in-game changes, strategy-wise. He wasn't afraid to play freshmen like Polito, little things like that. And, or just whoever had the hot hand, let him play more. That was a big part of it. A lot of coaches are stuck in their ways. As long as you weren't turning the ball over, like Ernie did, it was, but, that was part of it. And then Jonathan Johnson, man, I think it was the Canterbury game or the is that the Fort Myers team?
Yeah, that's Canterbury, Fort Myers. Yeah,
I mean, red hot. Yeah, it was like we were cruising at that point. I think they had given us a tough game earlier on, but yeah, that was a big part of it. Just kind of getting more focused, honing in. Another thing too, I don't know if we talked about it, that Valdes, the master at, was the pre-game game day atmosphere, what he set, going to, the house and doing the Bible devotion, getting your mind right. I mean, we were so for me personally, just so focused mentally and ready to play. And he was a master at that, getting you ready, inspired. So I guess that was what stuck out to me.
That's really important to point out. I mean, everybody who comes on these episodes, these podcasts, points out just the constant, consistent Valdes plan. And game day is no different with paleo, seafood, and chicken. We joke about eating fried chicken on game day. That would never happen today. But so paleos, you had going over to his house. You had after school, you actually had a practice. I mean, you had walkthrough in preparation for the night's game. So that's all really good. We're going to turn back now to Ernie. And Ernie, the 1994 team, there's lots of seniors. You would think it's a walk it up team with the size, that it's a half court team. But with your shooting, Polito and Jonathan Johnson, it was actually more like the early stages of the perimeter game, where you had positionless basketball and guys shot threes. Try to remember back and tell us, was there anything about that team that you saw that was unique? Was it the size that we've talked about, or was it the fact we had Jonathan Johnson and a few of you guys who could shoot threes from everywhere?
What was awesome about Coach Valdes? He was always prepared for every team. So let's say they would collapse on tree, on fielder, down low. Coach Valdes would run plays for 3-pointers. And then when they would bring the zone out, we would just bring the ball in. We would just throw the ball in and throw alley-oops and bounce passes, and fielder would do his fadeaway, and Tree would do his fadeaway in the middle like he used to always do. I could like count how we would do our shots, man. I'm like, oh, there's fielder doing his back shot. Oh, there's Tree. There's Tree putting it in. Coach Valdes always had a system. And what's weird in thinking about everything, everybody had their own part, man. There was really, truthfully, in 1994, there was not really a true starting five.
That's really good. And we've mentioned some other names. You mentioned Justin Winan. We got Roderick. So there's lots of guys. Everybody played a role. I don't remember. I think Scott Crone may have been on varsity. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
So everybody played a role and really contributed. But it was the Jonathan Johnson show when it came to shooting 3-pointers. Tree, let's talk about that. Jonathan Johnson, your teammate, who we hope to have on a future episode, he finishes the year as the all-time leading 3-point shooter in the state of Florida, all-time in Tampa. He's probably still top 5, maybe top 10, the school's all-time leading scorer. How did you and Jonathan Johnson get along? Were you close? Were you friends? Were you more friends with Ernie and Bo? What were the relationships like for you that year at Bayshore?
I mean, I was cool with everybody. I'm a people person. I never had a problem with anybody. Bo was my boy. Me and Bo, we rode to school together. Me and Bo went through, I got in a car accident. I wrecked Bo's car.
Whoa! Wow. Tell that story. Tell that story.
No.
How are you driving the car?
I don't know. We were at the
game.
Bo's jumping in.
How it happened, but it was a Hyundai. It was an old school Hyundai, and I fell asleep at the wheel. Dude, it was late. It was after a football game. I don't know. I think I was looking for Bo. I don't remember what it was, but I was tired and I fell asleep and I hit a pole on Bush Boulevard. Dude, I still remember it to this day. I hit this pole and the whole time I was concerned about the car. Mr. Heinley showed up and I'm like, I'm sorry I wrecked the car. And he was like, don't worry about the car. He was like, are you okay? And I'm like,
that's nice. That's really nice.
I'm like, really? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, so me and Bo were close and John Fielder. That's my boy to this day. Like, but me and John cool. We're cool. I actually spoke to him like not too long ago on the phone. And it was because he ended up at one of my friends' house and he was telling them that he used to be like one of the best players in Florida. And they were like, yeah, I went to Bayshore Christian. So my boy was like, oh, Tree went to Bayshore Christian. He was like, I know him. We played together. Then he called me on the phone. I mean, we're cool. I was telling Ernie, I ran into him at Bayshore. He used to be a youth pastor.
Hey guys, let me jump in real quick and say we lost Polito. Drew, wherever you're at, hopefully you'll log back in. Tree, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, yeah. So I went and visited Bayshore right the last year that Coach Valdes was the headmaster. And John was like, maybe like a youth pastor there at the time. And when I saw him, he was like heavy set. I was like, wow, you put on some weight. And yeah, I mean, we were cool. Everybody was cool on the team. We were like a brotherhood.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, nobody ever had beef with each other. I mean, we got along. When we were together, we had fun. Right. And part of it was Coach Valdes made it that way. Bayshore Christian, the whole atmosphere was like amazing. Like everybody was friendly. Like I never had any problems with anybody at Bayshore.
That's really good. And that's really the common theme of all of these episodes as well is the relationships and how they were back then close and they've stayed, even when we haven't stayed in touch for almost decades, still you can see the bond amongst the teammates and the brotherhood that is the Faith Warriors. Bo, we're going to ask you to jump back in. We just got Polito back, which is good. Bo, so I'm trying to lead us into the Final Four. And I've asked the other guys about practice, what that is like. Has anything changed? Tell us your thoughts. It's not quite your senior year. You're a junior, right? This is your junior year.
Junior.
And I should tell everybody that's watching, you can see the whole state semifinal game on our YouTube channel, the entire game, as well as a bunch of clips. You got an Ernie 3, you got some Bo 3s, you got some tree action. So make sure to check out the YouTube channel to see these guys in their glory years. Bo, when we're thinking about the Final Four, I mean, this is going to be the fifth Final Four in 12 years. It's the 1994 season. It's Coach Valdes's final year. Did you know that it may have been coming to an end?
Man, I had no idea. I didn't even have the first idea, not even a clue. I don't even know if any of the other guys did either. But man, I'll never forget that Final Four game. The atmosphere is so indescribably different than even playoff games, district games, regional games, anything. And we had that game was at like 9 o'clock in the morning, I think, something like crazy like that. And we were, I think for the first time all season, we were just complete. The starting five, I mean, we were just ice cold. Jonathan Johnson couldn't hit nothing. I think our first 5 possessions were turnovers in that game.
That's true.
And I was like, I remember just being on the bench, man. I mean, I was pissed off. I was like, man, if we don't get our, together, we're not going to win this game. I was so mad. And I remember coming in, and I was like, I'm going to shoot. I don't care what happens. So no, I'll never forget that. I was so tired at the end of that game. But yeah, that was one of the big things. I don't even know if does anybody remember hearing any rumors of Coach Valdes maybe leaving? I mean, I don't even know if anybody knew on the team.
Yeah, it was a shock to me.
He kept it. Well, who knows? He may have even made the decision afterwards. When we ask him about it, he just sort of tells the story. So we're not really sure if he was thinking about it or not beforehand. That game, it's important to point out, is against Highlands Christian. It is the rematch, Palm Beach Highlands, which had upset us in the Christmas tournament. They were top 10 all year. They did a real good job of pass, cut, sort of Princeton offense, backdoor cut you. They had good shooters. They did not match up with us, which is why the Christmas tournament, in our view, was an upset. And you certainly got even with it wasn't a last second shot, but a 50-48 semifinal win at the state Final Four against Palm Beach Highlands. It was a great win. Before we turn to Ernie, let's switch back to Drew. We just got you back. We're glad you're back on the show.
I want to say one more thing, Steve. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, please.
Do y'all remember the first time we played Pompano Beach? When they got the lead, they played 4 corners. Did you mention that? They played 4 corners, and they never tried to even attempt to shoot the ball. I mean, it was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. We didn't know what to do. And I don't remember the final score, but it was like we just didn't know how to defend it. And all they were doing is just holding the ball the entire time.
The whole time.
And that was the reason that they beat us.
At Christmas, they beat y'all 58.
Wrong. The reason that loss was me.
Pompano Beach?
I was about to say somehow.
Oh,
Ernie
no, not the Pompano one, the Highlands. My bad, Highlands.
Yeah.
Highlands.
Ernie, get over it, bro.
So yeah, that 58-51 loss to Highlands during Christmas. Ernie lived somehow Coach Valdes's wrath. Going to turn to Drew Polito. And Drew, 1994, the last days of the Valdes era, 12 years. This is the 5th Final Four. It's the 3rd one in 4 years. You're a freshman. What are your thoughts heading into that game? What was it like on the trip? Did y'all drive in the Valdes mobile? What was that like leading up to that game?
It's a big blur for me. I don't really think I played the first game. I think I racked up 10 or 12 points, some garbage points in the second game. The end of the, like Bo said, it was early. It almost looked like we played a little nervous. I'm not really sure. One thing I do remember about this team and all the teams that I played on, but especially this team, we were nasty when it came to defense. Okay, we had guys down, me, Ernie, Bo, and Roderick. We took pride in defense. A lot of our points, our transition points, came off of turnovers. So other than that, I didn't know my uncle was leaving. I don't even think he knew he was leaving. I think he told me, I think he told you on the podcast too, though, he wish he would have stayed a little longer. And we had a deep coaching staff. We had Uncle Herman, Sam, Volpe, you were there. We had a deep staff. And then we had the other trainer, Steve Glickman. I mean, I'm a freshman feeling like a college kid, you know what I'm saying? We're getting treated right. We're getting fed, I'm taking your car, learning how to drive stick without a driver's license. Life was good for me. You know what I'm saying? The
That's really
Mitsubishi
great.
Eclipse, I guess.
That's
Huh?
right, the Eclipse, the red Eclipse.
Yes.
That's really great. And you're exactly right. Bayshore basically was ran like a college basketball program, and it was run by the very best in the business. And so those are really good thoughts. Ernie, turning to you, 1994 is your senior year, last days of Valdes, fifth state Final Four in 12 years. What are your memories of that game? I know you made it 3 early, I seem to remember, in the semifinal game. Well, let me turn to and also talk about the championship game, because this team is only one of 2 that ever played in the championship game. Lots of Final Fours, but only you guys and 1987 actually made it to the championship game. The biggest question I have, I'm interested in Tree's opinion, would Andrew Frazier have made a difference in that championship game? So Ernie, tell us your thoughts about the Final Four.
Well, everyone has to remember that we were down our point guard on the finals.
Who was that?
Roderick.
Oh.
Hey.
Tell that story. What happened there?
Yeah, let me tell that story.
Okay, yeah.
Remember,
Coach
Valdes
Yeah.
went big. He went with the biggest players we had. And they spoke to me. They go, Ernie, we're not going to start you. We're going to go big. I said, that's fine with me. Let's rock and roll. And but the finals is the finals. What was awesome was the journey. I never forget. I think our last loss was St. Pete Catholic or something like that?
Yeah.
No, we beat St. Pete Catholic.
Yeah, the second time you played them, though, you lost to them. The second last game of the year, you lost to St. Pete Catholic. That was your last regular season loss.
Okay, that was our last loss.
Yeah.
The practice after that, I remember
I got the scores right here in the yearbook. That's
okay. I remember Coach Valdes closing the doors and kicking everyone out and giving us one of the Coach Valdez' speeches with the basketball underneath his arm, the veins popping, telling us we're not playing like we should, that this is our house. And the only way for us to win is to play the Bayshore way. I'll never forget after that, because I remember when we had that practice, the starters were not allowed to bounce the ball. And Coach Volpe, Coach Sam, Fielder's brother, I mean, they were ripping us apart because the alumni, the alumni would play varsity. We wouldn't play JV. When it was time to play, Coach Valdes would call up the corral, man, all the horses, the Mustangs, everything.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
And I'll never forget, they were just killing us. And then they would rotate and they would have the starting five. The starting five could not dribble the ball. And Coach Sam's pushing us around. What was Fielder's brother's name? What was his name?
Reggie Sanford.
Reggie. Big old Reggie, man. Reggie would dunk the ball on us. I mean, we were getting embarrassed until Coach Valdes gave that speech. And he goes, I want to start with one bounce. And then after that one bounce, it was over with. And I'll never forget that day, man, because after that, we were unstoppable. I mean, after that, we were like, we would just blow every team out. I mean, we blew them away.
That's really great. And Reggie Sanford, of course, alumni, class of 81. He was actually Fielder's brother. He was actually pre-Empire. So he played even before Coach Valdes. Tree, we want to hear about whether or not you think, well, first off, let me ask this question. Do you guys remember, you guys lost a couple of times in practice to the JV, and Coach Valdes would lose his mind, throw everyone out of the gym, and y'all would start running. Do you remember those couple of times it happened? Does anybody remember?
Yeah.
He did not like that when that happened. But real quick, Tree, tell us about your Final Four memories, the trip to Tallahassee, the Final Four win, the state championship game, and would Andrew Frazier made a difference in the championship game?
Well, when we first arrived in Tallahassee, I mean, we knew we were there for business, but we were here staying in this brand new dorm, has restaurants downstairs. We were on cloud nine, and coach was like, we got to be up at 7:30 in the morning because we're going to walk to the Lee
Yep.
County Civic Center.
Okay, so let me interrupt again. I apologize. We're still with Tree. We're going to let you finish this story, Tree, but I have another question. When we had the 1990s cheerleader episode, they indicated the 90s cheerleaders that when Derek and Andrick went to the Final Four, people were sneaking out of hotel rooms and not getting ready for the game. Did y'all have any of those? Did y'all have any of those problems?
Okay, Roger got sent home because he snuck out. Okay, he got caught.
All right.
I'm not going to say who he was with.
Okay, the operative term is caught. Caught.
He got
The
caught.
operative term.
Yeah. And I told myself I was taking it to the grave. You know. Dude, I don't know what happened. We ended up meeting some Florida State girls.
Listen,
And
I didn't really know. I didn't know that this was true. I don't know that I want to know. I mean, are you saying we could have won a state title if you had not been with Florida State girls?
Listen, there are no details. There just know that it was the Florida State girls. And we were like, yo, we got to go back. We got to go back. And he was like, no, I'm going to stay. So me and Fielder, we went back to the dorm and left him. And guess what?
Okay.
Rosie and I think Coach Sam caught him. Somebody did, but
Okay, hold on. I got some Facebook quotes. She's Missy Cabot to me. Her name is Melissa Charlene. She's my special guest host when Chris can't be here, and she is putting laughing emojis all over Facebook, and she's saying, "Tree, you're throwing Roderick under the bus."
Oh man, hey, you gotta let it go. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I will never tell. I mean, seriously, like, come on, there's a code to it, but that was hilarious. That was hilarious. That's minor. Tell her she'll be all right.
Okay, and hold on. Missy Cabot also says, "How is a Gator hooking up with a Florida State girl?"
We come out number one.
Listen,
all right. We're gonna
question that.
let me go to the big question, because we're gonna do an episode about what ifs. What if Kelvin Daniels had come earlier? What if Bernard Staley had stayed another year? What if Andrick had stayed for his senior year? Is Andrick Frazier at point guard with Bo, Ernie, Polito? Is that good enough to deal with Malone? Or is it really just Malone was Miami Senior High? Nothing was going to change the outcome.
Listen,
I mean, Malone might be the best team in the state.
Listen,
we'll go to Bo in a second. Tree, what do you think?
My personal opinion, and this is what hurt me, is because we grew up together, me and Andrew, right across the street from each other. And I always knew he went to a school that had an awesome basketball team, but I never knew it was Bayshore Christian, because before Bayshore, he was at Burns. Right. And he was supposed to play for Brandon High School, because we were in that district. So when I knew I was going to Bayshore Christian and I knew Drick was still there, I knew there was a possibility that we could win state. Had Andrick been there, we would have, if not won, we would have contended. We wouldn't have got blown out like we did. Because he's a slasher. He takes it to the hole, and not taking anything from Roderick. And me and Roderick have discussed this before, and Roderick says that he wishes that he was better back then. Well, because there's a lot of stuff that Andrew did that he brought to the table. I mean, amazing, quick, take it to the hole. He has great court vision. So, man, oh yeah, we the one state.
That's really interesting to hear your take on that. And obviously, Roderick had great skill. Ernie has great skill. Polito had great skill, but they all had unique skill. For me, Drew is a freshman through his career, and Drew, you can speak to this. Great defender, great scorer. a great scorer. He can make plays, a playmaker. But that 94 team did not, and Bo, maybe you can correct me, you're next. I did not think we had a true point guard without Frazier. We had shooters, we had scorers, we had guards, but we didn't have that true point guard for 1994. What do you think, Bo?
No, I mean, I agree. I don't know if I can speak for Ernie and Roddy, but yeah, they may have been also good wing players. I think that would have, I mean, I remember reading in a couple articles that Malone was probably the best team regardless of classification.
Yeah.
And I think you had already mentioned they beat Miami Senior High that year in a Christmas tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if Andrick would have been enough to beat Malone, but like Tree said, I think we would have contended with them. We would have given them a serious game. They came out running. I mean, I'll never remember any other team coming out and just hitting us between the eyes like that, just three after three after. And they were running so fast. It was like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it took us like a quarter and a half to even catch up to their speed.
Right.
And they were like, they already thought they'd won the game.
Well, yeah, as you said, Malone had won. Malone was right in the middle of 6 straight state championships, which only Miami Senior had ever done. I think Hillsborough had 4 back in the 50s. So you're exactly right about that. Drew, what do you think? Do you think that Ernie, Bo, yourself, I look at you guys as scorers. You as a freshman, I look at you as a great defender, great shooter. Did we need a true point guard? Would it have made a difference? What was your thought about that 94 team?
Our 94 team was a team. Like Bo said and Ernie said, everyone had a role. My role was small, you know, like Bo said, if someone turned over the ball, whether it was Ernie, you know, I would get in and get my time. And if I turned the ball over, I was getting headbutted on the bench sitting, you know, next to Coach Sam and Herman, you know. But we were a good team. We complimented each other. It really wasn't that much of a scorer. Herman made it clear, feed the ball. You know what I mean? This is not your team. You know what I mean? You're an addition to the team. So I think if I was ever a true point guard, it might have been then. But I know we used a small lineup like me, Bo. I mean, Bo was pretty big back then for a guard, you know, in 1A.
Right.
So he went with me, Bo, and Ernie or Roderick or whatever the case was. But anybody could bring the ball up the court on that team and break the press.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, in your view, Andrick Frazier doesn't make a difference in that state championship.
It really depends on the nucleus of Bo, Andrick, and Jonathan Johnson. You don't know how that's going to work. You know, until you really put it together.
That's a very good point. That's exactly right. The chemistry factor would have had to work as well. And as you just said, you were a team. Y'all had chemistry. Andrick was tied to the Showtime era with Derek Smith. So maybe the chemistry doesn't work. So that's a very good point to bring up. Guys,
and you got to keep in mind too, one of the guys said we were deep. There was a starter on every team. We had guys on JV that could have gone and started you know, the same year. You know, we were deep. Very deep, very, very deep. So
that's exactly right. That's very good. That's very good.
And we were close. We were close on and off the court. You know, me and Tree were very, very, very tight. Me and Ernie, Jimmy, John, very, very tight. You know, it was a good time.
Guys, I can't thank you enough. We've had you for an hour. We're going to go back a final round. We're going to want you to share your best memory from Bayshore. It doesn't have to be basketball. We make sure to thank your teammates. Say something about Coach Valdes. Before we go around for that last round, Rihanna Schwartz, who is one of y'all's cheerleaders, says, "I'm so impressed that you guys remember so much," and she's saying hello. So got a big crowd out here. What's that?
I said we're not that old.
Tree, you're making sure that everybody knows that. So
I turned 45, so I mean,
you're a youngster.
She was,
yeah.
She graduated with me in '97.
Okay, very good, very good. John Harville also points out these guys are Bayshore brothers, and I got to tell you guys, John Harville, who is an original gangster, it's really hard to not. If you don't know the crew that first came in with Coach Valdes, you're missing out on real people. And he was almost in tears last week listening to Bo talk about you guys, and it was the 95 team last week, but the guys in the 90s, you guys took pride in being Bayshore guys as well, like we did in the 80s. And so he was almost in tears telling that story, as was I. I think that's really wonderful that we all have this bond and connection.
Yo, quick story.
Somebody, Tree.
So when I found out that I wasn't coming back to Bayshore, I cried my heart out because I knew that I will never ever have a bond like this again with anyone, as far as like my teammates. And I was like, yeah, King High was cool and all, but King High will never equal up to Bayshore Christian. Ever in a million years. I don't care how many friends I had at King High School. Dude, I knew that day at the state tournament that was my last game. And I left it all on the court.
That's
and
great.
do you know, after that day, I never played basketball again.
Wow. That's a common, there's several guys like that, obviously. And Drew, I didn't want to speak for you, but exactly. Drew had told me that story as well. That's very touching. And that's how we all feel about Bayshore basketball, I think. So that's really wonderful to hear, Tree. We're going to, Missy Cabot says you don't look a day over 44, Tree.
Yeah, right. Thanks.
Rihanna Schwartz says she has a memory as paddle day, eligibility forms was something you guys didn't look forward to.
Some of those girls were responsible for us, whether we played or not that weekend, homework, etc.
It didn't happen.
That's great. Yeah. So yeah, Rihanna, Missy, you guys are sort of responsible for a lot of the eligibility issues. We're going to go around the room and ask each of you to give your last thoughts, maybe a great memory, teacher, friend, doesn't have to be basketball. Tell us your Valdes final thoughts and give us your final thoughts on that last days of empire. 1994 brings an end to the Valdes era at Bayshore. We'll start with Ernie.
Oh, man. All right. Well, to me, what I believe about Bayshore is, and what made Coach Valdes awesome was also Coach Sam, Coach Volpe, Coach Dibble. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Coach Harville. I got a story about Coach Harville, but I'm going to leave it for another day.
No. Hold on. We can keep going. Let's hear the Harville.
All right. Okay. So listen. Coach Harville was my teacher in 9th grade. He taught economics. Okay. Listen.
Hold on. John Harville taught economics.
Yes. To me, he was Coach Harville. Right. So he taught our 9th grade class. He taught us economics. So economics always led to sports. Like 5 minutes of economics, and it would be sports. So we'll be talking. So it got to the point where we would just talk about sports. And Coach Harville always sat on his desk like this. and then the door would knock, right? The door would knock, and Coach Harville would go, "Hey guys, quick, act like you're doing something." So we would all grab our pens and papers, and Coach Harville would be like, "Turn to page 34. We'd be all flipping to page 34, acting like we're studying. Sorry, Coach Harville. I love you, man. I love you.
OG Harville. You know what? John Harville used to sit in class like that. There's a yearbook picture of him in high school like that. Ernie, what's your final thought on friend Coach Valdes in 1994 last days of empire?
Man, look, we were a family. I mean, I don't even know how to explain to it. And I've tried to explain it to my friends and family. It's just something, it's like a relationship. You don't know until you lose it. You don't have it anymore. When I was at Bayshore, we didn't know what we had. It was a beautiful thing. It's just awesome to come. Everybody's together. I'm talking, the players, the school, everything. And just Coach Valdes, we weren't taught to play high school basketball. Coach Valdes had us at like college level practicing. I mean, he was the man that had us physically and mentally prepared for every single game. And I love Coach Valdes. I know Coach Valdes. I know you were hard on me, and I was hard-headed, but I love you, man. I love every coach at Bayshore. Thank you.
That's really awesome, Ernie. I'm going to start bawling already. Tree, you shared a little bit about your love for Bayshore, and of course, that was really great words. Tell us your final memory. Maybe it's a friend, a teacher, Coach Valdes memory. Last days of Empire. What are your thoughts?
My favorite teacher, Mr. Piazza. Listen, I have got so much wisdom from him, and even after high school, I still saw Mr. Piazza. Me and Jared, we're all still friends. Elijah, Selena, she's in Charlotte, and man, he was just amazing. Like, from tearing phone books to bending railroad ties, he was just amazing. I mean, he was a smart man. And I mean, all my teachers, I liked Miss Way. Miss Way was cool, but Miss Way, she wasn't having it. She would make sure you did your work, or it is what it is. But
right.
As far as at the end, I was walking away from a lot. Friends, a school that I loved. It was a lot. So for me to have to say goodbye was like, I don't know, it was hard.
Right.
But I had fun. I mean, I had fun. We created a lot of memories. Man, we had some wild parties. No information needed. We just had good parties.
The night before games?
Yo, she threw a good party.
Who threw a good party? Who threw a good party?
Stedman? I don't know if you guys went to that party. She had she had a DJ by the pool. I mean, me and John.
Who was this? Who was this?
Ashley Stedman. She was a cheerleader, and
she married Jeff Zerk.
Yeah, her. Yeah, I love her to death. But we had some great times, man. We had some great times, and hey, we're forgetting about somebody. Didn't Dan Pulowski come up to varsity for a couple games?
No. Dan Pulowski was our cameraman.
No. Dan Pulowski played basketball.
I don't know.
What are you talking about, cameraman?
He was a JV, I think, and he came up as senior.
Okay, all right.
I don't see it in the year. Yeah, I didn't see it in the yearbook.
Yeah, he was like cameraman. Hold on, before we go, I want to say we had the best pregame music out of anybody in high school. We were listening to Shaq, and I don't know who. Jed Kirby. I think Jed Kirby did our pregame music, but it had to be no cuss words.
Right.
So everything we were listening to was hip hop, but it was no cuss words. And yeah, I know I felt like big shit coming on the court listening to that. With our little breakaways, remember Derek Smith talked about the warm-ups we had, the little breakaway warm-ups.
Right.
Because in public school we had I don't know if it was cotton or what polyester.
Polyester.
Yeah, that was a big change for us, man.
It was a college program. You're exact.
I loved it, and I love playing ball with you guys, man. And if I could do it all over again, man, I would. I mean, that was fun. 1994, that goes down in history, and that is the last of the big men. Because that's the last of the big men. Nobody did it like we did.
Yeah,
that was in that paint, and we weren't taking no prisoners.
That's exactly right. 6'10", 6'7", 6'7", 6'6". Ain't nothing like it. I'm gonna go to Drew. I'm gonna go to Drew before I go to wrap up with Bo. Rihanna also said that apparently Ashley Stedman had the power pig at her party.
Yes.
Yeah. Listen, that's how live the party was. If you had the Power Pig 93.3, oh yeah, it was all of that, dude. It was all of that.
Listen, Bayshore. I say it every episode. When I worked downtown at the county attorney's, everywhere I worked downtown, Bayshore mattered. Everyone I talked to went to Jesuit or Tampa Catholic. Hey man, where'd you go to school? Bayshore Christian. Oh man, I remember playing them, and Bayshore mattered. But apparently, not only do we not matter that we mattered in basketball, we have the freaking Power Pig at all of our high school parties. We mattered.
Yeah, it was great.
We're going to go to Drew and then wrap up with Bo. Drew, as a freshman, brought up onto the varsity. Your career was outstanding. You did mention you'd spent some time at Jefferson or Leto, one of those. But when you came back, 96 and 97 were two of the great teams. But all of that was set up by your time with your uncle as a freshman going on this Final Four run. Last days of Empire, tell us a teacher memory, and a Coach Valdes memory, whatever you got to close out.
It's blurry. I was a freshman. I had, 3 more years after that. A lot of my memories, really stuck out, when I went to Jefferson or, my senior year at Bayshore. But there was a lot of people that, impacted my life and a lot of these guys' lives. Volpe was one of them for me. Sandra Stokes, Becky Hartman was a art teacher of mine that believed in me. Miss Lopez, our Spanish teacher, and Mr. Piazza, and Miss Way. She didn't like me until I got to be a senior, but when I became a senior, she was like my bestie. So we had a good time. We had a lot of times off the court, guys. And after the season was over in December or January, there's sometimes I can't speak about that stood out to me. We were rock stars, man. Like, we owned Jesuit, we owned the TC boys, all the public schools. When we were somewhere, we had our little Bayshore bags with our jumpsuit, with our stuff in it, and we were to play ball anytime, anywhere. and Tree can attest to that. We pulled over in the car and just go ball up,
Yeah.
And if we had to all over people. But yeah, I mean, I didn't know it was my uncle's last year. I don't think he would do it any different. He's in a good place. I love him. We're close. We're tight. We've always been tight. We keep in contact a lot. So
That's really
real quick, off the subject. My dad, if y'all will pray for him, my mom, my brother, my sister, myself. He's almost been in the hospital for a year from COVID.
Yeah, man.
His whole left side immobilized for a while, so he's learning how to walk again and stuff like that. So he's been hospitalized for a year. A lot of people don't make it through all that. So if you can lift myself and my family up in prayers, that would be nice. So if you have time, say a little prayer for my pops and my moms.
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Certainly gonna be praying for your dad, but that's that Polito bloodline. He'll be all right. He's already doing, working at it. So, but we'll definitely pray for him. And people forget when we have these episodes, it is Bayshore Christian, and we need to make sure that we send our prayers up to God for all of those in need, and especially when it's family. So we'll definitely make sure everybody is praying for your dad and
Thank you.
there soon. I'm going to ask Bo to close out. Bo, Ernie is the senior on this team. We're asking you to say the last hurrahs. This is the final year of the Coach Valdes era, one of the most iconic figures in all of Tampa, Florida sports history. 12 years at Bayshore produces multiple college signees, multiple Division I players, multiple district championships, and 5 state Final Fours in 12 years. No one's even close. You could make the argument that Finland is like Tom Brady. He keeps coaching forever. So maybe he adds a few trophies to his case, but no one comes close to Herman. What is your final words, final memories about that last days of Empire?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go back to one thing about you're playing the what if game. And, I remember my 95 season when we played Malone in the semifinals. A big what if is what if Tree was with us for the 95 season? That Malone team wasn't nearly as good as they were the year before. They lost, I think, all 5 of their starters. They still won the state title, but that was a big what if for me. So,
Right.
you know, and I can attest to, you talk about Valdes, you know, I got to play for Finland also the AAU team. And I can tell you straight up that Valdes is the one that got me on the path to be able to even play in college. I think that was a big part of it. The mindset, the preparation, the willingness to work hard, you know, just, he put me on that path. I don't know if I'd even gotten close to being there if it wasn't for him. Favorite memories, I would say postseason. I mean, that was some of the funnest times I've ever had, you know, when we all put it together. The Lakeland Christian game, the Canterbury game, can't remember who we played in between. And then of course the Highlands Christian game, or Pompano Beach. That was probably one of my favorite games I've ever played in. So yeah, all thanks to Coach Valdes.
That's really great. And gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for being on this podcast. We have so many people that watch it. We don't even know how half the time that they end up watching it, but they do. And everybody wanted to see and hear from the guys from 1994. And so we can't thank you enough for being on here tonight. I think that's going to wrap it up. You had a lot of people watching, a lot of people commenting on Facebook. We thank everybody for watching, and thank you guys for being here, and we'll see everybody next week. And thank you again, gentlemen. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
I'll get your free from Steve. All right.
Yeah, there you go.
See you, Trey.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Yeah, later.